Hey, I'm Tom,
And I'm Josh.
and this is the Blockcast.
We're LEGO fans. Click.
Welcome back, everyone, all 66 subscribers, and everyone that is new here watching for the very first time. Thank you for coming back, and thank you for watching. Today is one of our very first episodes of 2025, so Josh and I decided that we wanted to introduce a new category, a new element into our show that we've been kicking around very early on as of last year when we first started this. We kind of fleshed it out, kind of wanted to test out the waters, and I think it's at a place that we're excited to show it all to you. And this is a segment that's going to be days, months, if not years with the Blockcast, and we'd like to introduce all of you to the Ultimate LEGO Leaderboard. Yes.
Ultimate LEGO Leaderboard.
So the Ultimate LEGO Leaderboard, what it is Josh and I will pick a set. It doesn't have to be a new set. It can be any set that LEGO has ever released. And based on a set of criteria and categories, we will rank said set 1 out of 20 points. Now, the great part about each category, we have 15 of them. They're each ranked 1 to 20 points each. Josh and I, we each get 20 points each. So for a total of 300 points per set, and then a total of 600 points for the set itself based on a couple categories, 15 of them, like design or minifigures or instruction quality. If you'd like to freeze frame, you get to see a little bit more of the description, which we're going to go over in a little bit. But we wanted to have an ultimate leaderboard for every set that we'd want to rank. So we'd take that 600 points out of that 600 points and then put that set on the ultimate LEGO leaderboard. Yes, it is ranked 1 through 600. So total points, set name, set number, and just notes are in general. Now, granted, the Ultimate LEGO Leaderboard has the ability to change or modify. This is what we're starting with. And it's the idea that if you have any sets for us and have any ones that you want us to review, set us the set name, or set number, and
Or the set itself if you really, really want to.
and that would be great. Josh could add the minifigures to the audience that he's currently working on for the Blockcast. And if you're unaware, if you subscribe to us, we add a physical minifigure to our studio audience at Josh's home, which is ever expanding. Now there's 66 of you, and he'll do a profile on your little figure that will feature on our Instagram, which you should definitely follow. Right, Josh?
Absolutely. And a warm welcome for the very first time to our studio audience, all the pretty bricks.
Hello and welcome. Yes, all the pretty bricks did go ahead and let us know that they subscribed, and we went ahead and added their minifigure to our studio audience. So be sure to check out our Instagram, and you will get to see that audience member in future premieres. Now, we didn't want to just tell you about the Ultimate LEGO Leaderboard. We wanted to put it to the test today. Yes, yes, yes. So Josh had the recommendation of reviewing the next set. And that very first set that we're going to review here at the Ultimate LEGO Leaderboard
Board.
is
Set 10335. The Endurance.
yes.
Because what better way to test the waters than with a ship?
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Although I would not test the ship in the waters. More on that.
No.
Let's just say the LEGO version follows realistically the actual plight of the Endurance.
Oh no. Well, we'll get there. Josh will tell you a little bit more. Yes. Well, at least it came with the piece before it was missing. So,
Yeah.
our very first set is going to be the Lego Endurance, which is very exciting. I think this set is beautiful, absolutely stunning. Now, Josh,
Save it for the leaderboard, Tom.
what was the Endurance?
So the Endurance is a ship. Originally the Polaris, commissioned in the early 1900s by Sir Ernest Shackleton to explore Antarctica. The idea was that they were going to lead a mission to sail from one side of Antarctica to the other. And Shackleton was an explorer more than anything else. He got the commission for the ship. He got his crew together. They went on their mission. They made it most of the way through. Had some challenges, but ultimately never made it to their goal. The ship ran aground of ice, got stuck, and couldn't continue. It is a wooden ship, as was relatively common at the time, and the crew, even though they were living on board for several months, while it was stuck in the ice, could start to hear the ship creaking and cracking and just simply falling apart under the pressure of the cold and of the ice. So Shackleton gathered his crew, limited their supplies to what they could carry. Although historically, and this is a lot of fun, one of the essential items was one of his men's banjo, because he felt that it was necessary to keep spirits up when facing the survival aspect of the cold of Antarctica. So they left the ship. Ultimately, the ship sank, but the Shackleton and his crew survived. They were able to make it to safety, get picked up. They were able to recount the tales of their exploration, but the ship unfortunately was lost to the ice. Fast forward an entire decade, 100 years, the ship was recovered in 2022. So just a couple of years ago. I almost said two. No, it's three, because we're in 2025 now in season 2 of the Blockcast. They were able to find the wreckage of the ship, and kind of piece together the historical aspect of the Endurance, much like we get to do now in Lego form.
Very cool. It's an absolutely stunning ship, and I can see why they would want to make a set out of this. I let's bring it over to the ultimate Lego leaderboard, shall we? And
Let's do
share
it.
what we think. So we are reviewing Lego Endurance 10335, as you learned from Josh. It has a very historical significance. It also appeared on Disney Plus, where you could watch the really cool documentary on it, which I still need to do. But it also, in terms of how they translated that into a Lego set. So there's good meaning behind this set. And the very first category that we're going to talk about on the Ultimate Lego Leaderboard is the design of the set itself. When we refer to design, we are talking about evaluating aesthetics, proportions, and overall appearance. Excuse me.
Design of this set has to be high ranking. I would say a very solid 18
Wow.
is going to be my point total.
Okay.
It's very high.
What
There's a
gives
couple of
you?
things that
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that I would take off for the way that the sails are. They're very static. They're relatively taut, so they don't have that billowing appearance that sails would. I mean, granted, if the ship is stuck, it's stuck, but there would still be breeze and things like that. That forward mast, they're relatively flat. So very minute things. It's a beautiful set. It's wonderfully constructed, designed. Everything about it is fantastic. But from the front, it has a very relatively plain profile, because of how the sails are positioned there in the front, without a way of raising the sails or anything of that nature. They are designed and meant to be fully deployed.
And in theory, this looks to be, well, granted, there's certain elements that it is not minifig scale.
No,
No,
it is not.
no.
This
It
would be
appear
microfig
micro.
scale. There are, we'll get to it. There's no inclusion of minifigures or microfigs in this set, but in terms of just simple display, design, It is a well-constructed set. We'll talk about it a little bit more in other categories, but overall design, I'm going to give it an 18.
18. I'm gonna share that with you. I'm gonna rank it kind of high. I do like it quite a bit. The detail is there for me, especially with the aesthetics of the ship itself. Um, I love the rigging. I love the lifeboats that they're in motion and they have the ability to come up and come down. You have the engine room as well. Um, Overall, I think it's good, but I think like what you're saying is that it's missing its fine tuning, like the very like the really like do you need that? So I'm gonna probably give it like granted this is episode one. I do like the plaque as well. Was the plaque now granted you have this one?
I do.
Was the plaque a sticker or was it a printed brick?
That was a printed brick.
Hmm. It's a 17 for me. It's a 17 for me. Yeah. I share the same opinion as you. I think it's all there. I just think that that finite minute detail, but that's me being extremely picky, you know. But it's the ultimate Lego leaderboard, so things could change. The next idea is the build experience, measuring how enjoyable, challenging, and satisfying the build process was. Does this feel minute? Is it repetitive? Is it the same? Because if you really look at it when you do the build, there's also a lot of hollowness to the hull itself as well, minus the core. So, Josh, where would you rank the build?
This was a fun build because it was very unique. So the entire structure is based on a single um, Lego rod. I believe it was a 1 by 12 initially to start, but it was completely built straight on and then off of the side of that using studs not on top. Snot. Uh,
Not.
so there was some really clever techniques built used during the build. There were points where it was repetitive because you're building the ship in three different segments, and the segments are similar but not the same. The only thing that I did not enjoy from a building experience was the Technic rods that make up the mast. If you've watched the Blockcast before, and we certainly hope that you have, you know that Technique and I are not friends per se. I appreciate uh, the the strength of it that it gives and what it can do for Lego, but there are certain elements that I don't enjoy. And for me, building the mast was a lot of repetitive Technic building. And the thing that drives me crazy is I like when you're building the connecting bits of a Technic, um, one side is flat, one side is rounded. And if you don't align them perfectly, it doesn't look right. So that the mask alone were a little bit frustrating. But as you can see in this picture here, the stairs is a gear rod put on its side to make a staircase. A lot of clever parts usage. There was a lot of really neat, unexpected surprises while building it. So I can't rank it low just because I didn't enjoy building the masts. I'm going to give the overall build experience a 16 on this one. It was a lot of fun. I was engaged throughout. Um, I did not get tired of building it or feel like, okay, I'm going to put this aside and work on it another day. I built it in two sessions, and I enjoyed it for the most part throughout.
Josh gives it a 16. I find it to the point where it's distinguishable in terms of playability and displayability. And you could say that the build experience, depending on how you look at it, has to hold up differently in order to match the what you're going to do with it. And in this case, it's built to be displayed and not played. Now, granted that, based on the age range of what it's sold for. When we look at the instruction manual on how it's built interior wise, it is beautifully done because you can see how you can do the bridge work and the deck work with the side of the Lego brick. And that, as you mentioned, with the Technic pieces for the gears going used as staircases based on minifig, not minifig scale, micro scale. It's innovative. It's beautifully done. It's well done. And the way that they built the hull as well, based on these pieces literally being on their sides, is very innovative and different. Compared to like when you build, Josh, and you've built a lot of them, the Pirates of the Caribbean ships,
Mhm.
it's a different build style based on playability.
Yes, at least for the Black Pearl, the original one, the hull was its own piece. You built it in segments still, but the sculpting of it was a molded brick. Here, the sculpting is all individual pieces. So in that regard, it's more complete build. You're building it much like the ship makers of old may have, piece by piece. Nothing's coming prefabricated here.
And what is also nice for the adult builder as well, if you really look at old school model making, it's that intricacy of the pieces is what's important as well, because that's what's the fun in building your model of the Endurance. There are certain portions that I did mention that are not hollow, but they have their centralized core, like in this photograph, where they do come with shelled pieces towards the middle portion of the hull, which houses the engine room. They had to make space for the engine room and put in a functional component around a displayable brick. So for me, based on displayability, playability, buildability, and not repetitiveness, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 15 out of 20. I'm close, but I don't match Josh.
And
So,
that's ultimately what the ultimate Lego leaderboard is about. You're going to
correct.
see those differing opinions.
So we're a little bit.
Everyone's ex
Go ahead. I'm
everyone's
sorry.
experience with Lego is going to be different, and that goes for whether you're building with instructions or building on your own.
Or you're
And
building an
that's the great
Avengers
thing
theme
about it.
set and don't have the same opinion on the set.
Javold fun.
If you want, go watch the previous episode. You'll see what we're talking about. We share a very different opinion on that set. All right, we are on to playability. Playability, it's the assessing interactive features, moving parts, potential for creative play, and that's what literally in Lego's name is play well. Does this set
Yes.
play well? Can you put it
Eh,
in the bathtub?
I would not recommend putting it in the bathtub. Much like the original Endurance, it will sink. But that's not to say it's without its playability. So the lifeboats are on components that can swivel out, and you can reposition them. The cabins, the upper hull, you can take the upper deck portions off so that you can see into the cabins, so that you can see the engine room that Tom was mentioning there. So there, in terms of that, you can see that there is a spool there, or basically a component of where the string is for the masts. So you can adjust that, but it doesn't do anything except for let the sails drop onto the ship. So there's not a playability where you can like raise sails or anything like that. But there is a steering wheel. So you can use the steering wheel to change the position of the rudder.
That's interesting. So it's another Technic component.
Yes.
Okay. That
And there's a fun factoid in the instruction manual that the gearbox that is attached to the steering wheel is the smallest gearbox in any Lego set.
that's interesting. Allows you to turn the
So
rudder no matter what
for
your
me,
ship is
this
doing.
isn't a set that's designed to be play with. What's that?
No matter what you do, no matter which direction you steer, your ship will still sink.
Correct. But It's okay because this isn't a set that's designed to be played with. There are some interactive elements to it that that are fun to discover, but mostly for the builder while you're building it. It's not something that you're gonna like, oh hey, come take a look at the endurance, watch the rudder changes, But it's still fun that it has that sort of functionality. I'm gonna give the playability a low score. I'm gonna give it a 4, but
Ooh.
again that's not its purpose. So a low score in playability for a set like this isn't bad.
You can't play with this set. I agree. There's no. This set is meant to be put on a shelf and displayed. I like the idea of the rudder and the little turny piece. I like the idea that you have the pulley lever and you have the engine room. But once you finish building it, you're done. I share Josh's opinion again. We're never going to disagree, are we?
Oh, I think we will.
But it's the idea that for me, playability is important. It's the idea that you can take this ship and, if you wanted to in your living room, add wheels underneath the hull, very light, and have the ability to push it across the floor. And if you're super creative and you're like, I'm gonna put this in the bathtub, there's no way with the height of these masts that it's going to have any kind of plausibility that the weight would hold at the bottom of the ship because there's no bilge pumps. I did not see bilge pumps built into this ship. That it will take on water like normal Lego ships. It probably won't sink. It'll just fall over and then sink because it is height heavy. Um, it's nice to look at. It's nice that they added the feature for the rudder, but to be honest, nobody's really going to use it ever. You're probably going to look at it, and probably so much dust will get caught in those Technic gears that you won't be able to turn it after a certain point. So, displayability will have high marks for me. Playability, I'm going to share Josh's number. I'm going to give it a 4. The rudder does get a little bit of playability because in theory you can move stuff and play with it a little bit, but there's no like playability. So that's going to be a 4 from me. The next category that we're going to be talking about is value for money, which a lot of sets that we're going to review. It's going to be interesting because I'm going to bring up intellectual properties at some point, and that's why certain pieces will be more expensive. But value for money, analyzing the set's cost relative to the piece count, features, and uniqueness. Josh, this set is $269.99. It features 3,011 pieces. It's geared for people 18 and older.
So we're
Is it?
coming out to about 9 cents per brick, which for everything from the deck down,
But
they're
remember,
mostly standard
you get 2 times the
pieces.
points right now if you buy it, based on the Lego
Sure,
website. So that's also a factor.
it is a factor, but I'm gonna go bare bones, just out the box, value for money.
Don't take it out of the box,
Uh,
people.
on on retail. The sales are unique pieces. They are pieces that builders of mocks are going to lap up because each sail is a different shape. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I believe, ultimately 7 different sized sails incorporated into the build. There are some other unique pieces that, as I mentioned before, the plaque is printed on the endurance name on the ship um, on the back is printed on. There were no stickers for this set, so everything was printed. I think that the value for the money stands very high, even though the price per piece count is a little bit higher. The overall experience, the build, the display, all of that comes into play when looking at it. I believe that this is a fairly valued set. I am going to say, without the inclusion of a minifigure or something of that nature, to give it that little extra oomph, it still stands strong. I'm gonna stick at 16 for. No, I changed that. I'm going up to 17 for the value.
Okay, this is high for me. You came up to closer to my number. That's how high I am. And based on, and we're talking, and Josh, you said 16, correct?
I upped
16,
it to 17.
17. You got to think value for money. Value for money as you, the consumer, as the person who enjoys Lego, or value for money uh, in terms of resellability, in terms of mockability, in terms of if you're a kid and you're saving up your money to build this. Also, if you're a model enthusiast of ships and you're trying to switch into Lego models, um, you have an excellent point with the sales, especially those that want to do mock builds, especially with ships. This is excellent because majority of what you're doing is you're buying them from Pirates of the Caribbean right now because there's not a lot of other ones besides the pirate sets. Not Pirates of the Caribbean, but also just generalized pirate and Lego sets.
And
I
good
think
luck
that,
finding those.
correct. If you look, they're very hard to come by. If you find someone that's selling them for like pennies on the dollar at a yard sale, buy it. I think the value for money is high because not only is it like worth it now based on price per piece, but if you keep all of those, how many? 3,011 pieces together, um, and you save this in bags, or you keep it as the ship, or you keep it in the box, and this retires, which it will, and I guarantee you it's going to be a very short-lived shelf because it's a very unique piece in terms of like what it is, because there are a lot of kids out there, and I'm talking kids under the age of 18 that won't know what the endurance is. Yes, it'll be cool, but it doesn't have a relatability. But when you get older or you are an adult and you happen to come across like the endurance as far as like the Disney Plus show, and then it happens to, your phone picks up on, oh, you watch the endurance, you might want to get this Lego set, and you have it and you want to sell it. I think this is I'm gonna go as high as like I'm gonna go 18 on this. The reason being is that it has, yes, it's high price per piece, like you said, but I think in terms of value to someone that is a collector of ship models built out of Lego, it's good for mock builders because it has unique sales. Other pieces, not so much. Granted, you have droid arms for the I can't remember the rigging, which is actually kind of cool. I like that. Not fully droid arms, but so not in terms of unique pieces, there's not a lot, but the way it is configured and built, and to the enthusiast, I think this will do really well in the aftermarket in terms of rare ability, that people will open this and it'll be harder to find. So I'm going to go ahead and give it an 18 um, out of 20. The next category that we're going to be talking about is nostalgia slash personal attachment, considering the emotional connection to the set, Josh. Do
Okay.
you have an emotional connection to the endurance?
Considering that until this set was announced, I did not know what the endurance was. My history with Sir Ernest Shackleton and his great ship is not far-reaching. However, I do have a strong personal connection to anything nautical, ships, shipbuilding, sailing, adventuring, cold weather. Once I did learn of the endurance, and not just through Lego, but in the documentary that Tom mentioned from Nat Geo, I became very invested very quickly in the history of the ship, of its crew, of the story, the pure survival aspect of it. Um, really captured my attention and interest. Um, and then more so, building it, I built it just prior. I started it just prior to going on a cruise, and I finished it after the cruise. So the elements of the deck work, the using the side of the Lego stone brick, to give that kind of cross timber look, took on a special meaning because of that experience that I had. I was very emotionally invested in this set, despite having no true understanding of who Sir Ernest Shackleton was before. So that's going to go kind of a mid-range. The Lego inspired me to be more interested in it, but I came into it knowing very little. that did not deter my enjoyability of it. I am going to go with a 15.
Wow, that's high. Okay. All right.
I like ships.
All right. I do like nautical stuff. It's fun. Not as much as trains, though. I'm a train guy. I do like ships. I think the intricacy of the build is very nice. Granted, this is not the building category. So I did not watch the Disney Plus series on this. I will eventually because I do like documentaries and things of this nature that are really cool that they go back and in the documentary they actually find the ship after all these years in 2022, which is really cool. Um, like I have a fascination with how they found the Titanic and what have you. So I do like those types of nautical theme based shows, mostly like sinking ships, which isn't great. Um, I don't have a necessarily attachment to a ship on a shelf. Ship in a bottle is rather cool, but that said, it already came out. So this is going to rank low for me. So I do not have an emotional attachment to this ship. It's going to have a 3. It's going to be a little bit different than Josh this time.
All right.
I have no attachment to this ship.
This is what we're looking for.
Our very next category, minifigures. Evaluating the number, quality, and uniqueness of included figures. Now, granted, we're not going to read this every time. This is the episode, the first episode, so it'll be up to you to read the descriptions. Um, um, uh, 0.
Yeah, it's a 0.
0.
There are no minifigs in this set.
No. Nope.
That hurts the point value.
Hey, a perfect score is a perfect score. And a perfect
Yes.
score include, I mean, Lego minifigs. I mean, granted, they were created in 1970, so sets prior to that are going to have trouble getting up high in the rankings. But other categories have to pull your weight, and it doesn't pull weight if it doesn't have minifigures.
Yes.
And you could argue with us if you choose to. That's perfectly fine. Everybody has a different opinion, but these are the 15 categories that we chose. And granted, these could change, but this is what it is for right now. Minifigures, both for Josh and I, at a 0. Innovation, looking to new building techniques or creative design elements, and we've mentioned that a couple times.
Yeah. We've talked about it. I don't feel like I need to go more into depth into it. It was the build experience was very unique. There was some really cool uses of different parts that you wouldn't normally see. Nice parts usage and PU throughout. Building off the side, I think was very unique. I haven't seen that before. I am going to go with a 13.
Okay. All right. Lucky number 13 for Josh. Innovation, looking at new building techniques, creative design elements. I do like how we also, in other pirate sets, they don't use Technic masts. They use preformed, prefabricated pieces as well in the old pirate sets as well. I did like that aspect. I did like the way they used it for the micro scale. As you mentioned, you have the non-bricks on top, and you have them use the side of the brick, in which I found that innovative. I'm gonna go a little bit lower though, because I've seen techniques used in other builds that this ship carries as well. So I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 20. It's innovative, but it's not something completely brand new. Our next category is durability, judging the set's sturdiness and resistance to wear and tear.
Don't put it
If
in the bathtub.
the one thing I can tell you right now is that wherever somebody displays this, it is too big for an internal bookcase with doors. So no matter where you display this, and I'm talking to all of you, it's gonna get dusty.
Yep.
It's this
And
set
the
will,
sails and the rigging are going to be magnets for dust.
yeah, absolutely.
I will say I was surprised, given that there's not a lot of connecting elements off of the main base of the hull, that it didn't implode as I was trying to build it. It was actually a relatively sturdy build. Um, there, uh, there was also a unique element where it came with additional pieces, 14, I believe, extra pieces to create a base. That's not a part of the final model. So you can see it here, that tan bit was a base used simply to hold the set in place as you built. Without this, I am certain that this would have fallen apart so many times as I was building it. It was a very clever inclusion from the design team. Uh, Aesthetically, it doesn't make a difference one way or another, but it did help with the building experience. It did help with that sturdiness. Because of that foresight, I am going to go ahead and give that a 12.
Mm.
But as Tom said, it's going to collect dust. This is going to be a dust magnet. Because it's black, that's going to show.
And to that point, when we talk about, it's really with any ship, and this is the facts of life. If you display something on a low area, or you have a cat, rigging is not going to survive long-term display. It's just not. You're going to have things that walk into it, knock into it, fall over, have dust on it, and any like adjacent pieces that are sticking out, aka any of the masting, is not going to hold up. The rest of the ship, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 20. The next category, displayability, assessing how well the set serves as a display piece.
Well, we've been talking about this almost since the very beginning, so I'm just going to go out. It doesn't need more explanation than a true 19.
Yeah, I'm gonna go high. I'm gonna give it a 20. It's built for display. That's literally what it is. Josh gives it a 19. It's that 1% displayability that Josh is holding on. It's that 1% playability that Josh so he can use the little steering wheel. But yeah, it's for display. It's not for play. Yeah.
The only reason I took the point off is because of those hidden details inside that you don't see when it's
True.
displayed. Those are for the builder. But there's such cool details that it's a shame that everyone can't see them.
Theme representation, evaluating how accurately the set captures the theme's essence. Theme being ship.
Is it, or is it the Lego theme that it was released under? It was released under the Icons brand, or Icons theme, which really is a catch-all for big adult sets.
That are recognizable. I don't recognize the Endurance because it's been under the ocean for the last 100 years.
Right.
I
Yes.
I think it's the idea that they've now remember I can't think for myself. I have to think for everyone, for those that enjoy ships and might have known about the the endurance, and like going down and maybe the like resurfacing old wrecks and what have you. So in terms of like theme representation, I think it does a good job representing an icon to those in the ship-based recovery enthusiast community. I'm gonna give it a 16.
Okay. I'll give it a 6.
Oh wow! So it doesn't represent the Endurance.
I mean, the Endurance is what it is, but I wouldn't consider that the theme. I don't know.
Is
That
the
one's a tough
theme
one for me.
the nautical, or is it? So I guess does it represent the theme accurately because we don't know what the theme actually is? Remember, this is the first episode, people.
I'm thinking of it.
Wait, is the theme the icons, or is the
I get
theme?
that's what I'm taking it as. I'm taking it as the theme under which it was released by Lego, and Lego is calling it Icons. This is an icon, as you said, in the shipbuilding industry. So I guess it represents that theme pretty well. But would it fit within another theme? It's a historical set. We've seen other historical sets. for historical figures and things like that. Is it placed right? Maybe. I don't know. I
I
maintain the 6, mostly just because I'm confused.
I'm gonna hold at 16 for those in the ship-based community.
I'm still
Um,
ahead of Tom with my points. It's fine.
Part selection. Considering the uniqueness, variety, and usefulness of included parts for MOC or my own creation. Remember the first episode, Josh? That's why I put the parentheses in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I got you. Builders.
How far we've come.
If you're unfamiliar, we talked about MOCs in our very first episode, but we couldn't remember what MOC stood for, so we made sure in this episode to clarify again. Go ahead, watch the first episode. You'll enjoy it. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Part selection.
15.
Ooh, that's high.
It's
Well,
high,
considering
but
uniqueness, variety, and usefulness of included parts.
there's some very unique elements. There is a lot of curved pieces that make up the hull that you don't find in bulk in a lot of sets, and there's a lot of them included. There's a lot of um, other unique pieces that provide a curvature that again you don't see in a lot of sets. I think if you go to the next step, like those elements there that
You
make
mean
up the front of the hull.
Shadow's eyebrow from
Yeah,
Sonic the
right.
Hedgehog?
Yes, but you get a lot of these pieces in bulk. The large slope piece is not one that I had seen before here, so I think that may be a new element. These large curved hull pieces, I think that there's a good selection of unique parts. If you're building something of a sandstone color that is made out of brick, all those pieces that make up the deck are going to be great for you. You've got the sails, you've got some printed bricks, though I don't know when in MOC you'll use the endurance placard again, but it's still a unique um, piece. So it's a unique part. So I'm gonna stick with 15.
15, that is high. I'm going to give it 5. The reason being, um, it's the idea that this is a couple different categories as well, and it goes back to value for money as well. Part selection for those that do mocks. It's the idea that some of this you can get the bill off the pick a brick wall and order directly that you don't necessarily need this set for in terms of part selection. But what I'm saying is that based on what you said before, based on the sales is what sells me, and the little flag in the back as well. The endurance sign is something that I could see somebody putting somewhere as a nod to the set. But in terms of like uniqueness, besides the way they were used, I don't think there's enough uniqueness in terms of the brick itself. Yeah, you have Technic and what have you, but it's very basic elements when it comes to Technic. It is basic elements when it comes to brick. Yes, you have a lot of slope, but besides that, it's I view it differently. I give it a 5, but the 5 is carried heavily because of the sales, printed fabric pieces, and the sign for the endurance. Yes, I'm going opposite with the side. Don't know why, but I do like that they took the time to put printed words on a printed brick sign that they choose to print. Print being the key word here. 5.
All right.
And we are at instruction quality. Yes. We're going to analyze instruction quality of Lego sets utilizing mostly the online to show you. Josh will show you the in-person in just a moment. There it is. Instruction quality, analyzing clarity, readability, and ease of the following of instructions. Josh,
Mhm.
tell them the cool thing is that I don't know if I've had this fancy of a set where it. I love this though. I absolutely love this. Is that they give you a unique and different history in terms of what the set was, and this is truly part of the icon theming, right?
Mhm.
So we can look
We
at
see
that
this a
as
lot
well.
in ideas sets as well as the icons, where the design team will talk about it, talk about what inspiration they had, how they went and built it. So the inclusion of this in any instruction automatically gets it a higher score for me. I love this, getting to see a little bit into the design process. In addition to this, at the beginning, throughout the manual, there are little blurbs, on certain pages that give you a little bit of history on the pieces, the elements that you're using. That just highlight the creativity of the design team even more, as well as a little bit of history about the endurance itself.
Here's one.
Mm-hmm. The keel is only 1 brick wide to keep the ship's sleek appearance, forming a wall in the front section with studs facing sideways. This technique creates a nice shape for the hull. So it gives, again, a little bit of history, a little bit of insight into the Lego masters who've designed it. Sometimes you'll get history of a specific piece, recolors, and things like that. So it makes it fun, because it's not simply building, you're learning as you go. In addition to that, I am going to give additional marks because it is one book. There are other sets that are larger, that'll come broken into different sections, and those books are sometimes 1, 2, 3 books unnecessarily. For bigger sets, sure, I understand, but there's been smaller sets that have come with numerous. I don't like that. I like just having one to keep track of, because I hold on to my manuals. I file them in my filing cabinet, so it's much easier to just store one. And then additionally, the clarity in the instruction manual is strong for me. It's a little bit harder to see in the online version because the background is gray and there are gray pieces, but the coloring of it allows for very easy differentiation of the shades of colors. Sometimes, depending on how it's printed and depending on the color of the background, it's very hard to tell if it's a dark brown, if it's a light brown, if it's dark gray, if it's a light gray. I did not have that problem at all in this build at all. This instruction manual, very well done. I am going to go ahead and give the instruction manual for the Endurance a 20.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Nope.
All
I
right.
changed my mind. It's a 19.
What?
The cover needs a little bit more. There's a lot of white.
Picky. So I'm going to analyze it based on the pixels that they used within the imagery, within the instruction quality, the ink that they used within the. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. To Josh's point, and this actually brings me back to theme representation, because I had forgotten about this, but and it goes back to those in the ship community, but. I've been to I can't remember the Viking Museum in Denmark, and Viking museums throughout Norway as well, and they always talk about the ships, the big ships, the ships that they've recovered and what have you. But also this manual gives me reminders of that educational based tool. Because let's say you build a ship like this and then you go on vacation to somewhere that talks about ships. It's the idea that it's also an educational portion and piece that you're not only learning about Lego and building techniques, but you're actually learning about functional ship building techniques in the real world and falling within that theming of the Lego icon, right? So in theory, it's a revolution where it all forms together like, a set. But what gets me for this in the instruction quality, as Josh says, and it comes all the way through, they begin you in telling you the history and what the Endurance was. And that's something meaningful because as you're building it, you're learning about not just ships in general, but the ship that you are building. So by the time you get done with it and you place it on that shelf and you've read about it in your manual that's only classic Lego is just going to tell you how to build something. This is giving you not just education, but it's giving you something that makes you appreciate your build even more. And granted, we're going to review sets that are going to give us manuals that will have nothing, right? This is what gives this set more points. So does Lego put this kind of quality into sets that cost $15 to $20? Or are they only putting them in icon sets? It's the idea that I think, as Josh said, the layout of this, the colors that they used, not only in the pieces, but also representing, taking those colors and putting them in the manual to tell the story and of the history of the endurance, its routes and what have you, is also very important. I'm also going to rank this high, and I'm going to give it a 17. But when we get to other sets, please don't be mad at me when I rank it way low, because the quality of this manual is immaculate. And then some of the manuals that we will go forward, it's going to change, and you're going to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 17. Expansion potential. Assessing how well the set integrates with other LEGO sets or themes.
In terms of its story, the narrative of the Endurance, this is kind of a one and done. Now, that said, it did come with a gift with purchase upon release that you got Shackleton's lifeboat. So it expanded the scale of the lifeboats that you see in the model. It did come with 2 exclusive minifigs to kind of further tell the story of Sir Ernest Shackleton. However, that's basically it. There's not much else you can do with the Endurance as itself. Does it integrate with other Lego ships? Absolutely. If you collect ships, it's going to look great besides those, but it's not enhancing the narrative of the set itself, the ship itself. There's not, you're not going to build the Endurance 2. You're not going to build the ice that it got trapped in.
You know what? If you build a mock, you could totally do Captain America with that.
Yeah. Expansion potential, we're going to go ahead and give it I'm going to give it some points for the gift with purchase because it is a very cool gift with purchase. But that in itself can't speak to the quality of this build on its own. So it's going to be a 6.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to be right there with you. I'm going to give it a 4. The expansion potential was that gift with purchase. I did love that it fit the theming and it wasn't completely something like out of the box. The only thing was that drove me nuts. It was a gift with purchase, but it was to minifig scale. And the rest of the ship is not minifig scale. So I thought the lifeboat was awesome. They did a great job on designing it. I forgot to pull it up for you, but thought it was cute. The minifigure was awesome. As it doesn't fit the theming, and granted, this is really like loose because we're gonna review sets like Lego Rock Raiders, right? Yeah, expansion potential. They expanded, but like this one is an icons based theme. Really, one set. It was nice that we got the lifeboat, but probably we won't see a lot of like pairings with a gift with purchase like that as unique as that. I'm gonna give it a 4. So Josh, you gave it a 6.
Yep.
I gave it a 4. All right, exclusive elements. Looking at unique prints, molds, or pieces exclusives to the set. Now, granted, I might have overanalyzed this when we were talking part selection. Yeah, but this is our first time, people.
I'm going to give it a 10.
I'm going to give it a 4. It's just the sales.
Printed brick.
Yeah,
Find me another set with an endurance plaque.
But it's just the thing is, but I can find that piece. It's just the print on the outside. I just need to find the printer. I'm gonna give it a 4. Josh, you give it a 6?
Yeah, 10. I said.
10.
Did I say 10? I said 10.
No,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking of the
because also it came with the flag. Flags in Lego sets are not particularly common, and I really enjoy when a set includes a flag. And this particular flag um, is a little bit different than the ones that we've seen before, where it's either printed on a tile piece, or it's a sticker, uh, or it's one-sided. I believe on the Titanic, the flags are printed one-sided. This one is on both sides. It's a better piece. 10.
10. Now it's time for the wow factor. Wow.
Wow.
Considering the overall impression and excitement of the set generates upon completion, and not just completion, but in general. Um, does it give you that wow factor every time you walk by it in the living room, Josh?
It does.
Oh, wow.
I do find that I do find that I spend a good deal of time staring at it, and it has that wow. It is it's eye catching, no matter where you have it displayed, because of the mass, because of just the general shape of it. Whether you like ships or whether you don't like ships, one way or another, it's going to draw your eye. It's big. It looks good. The wow factor for me is an 18.
All right, now I have a question for you, and this is just me being curious. Let's say in your living room, you
Mm-hmm.
have the Endurance, and then
Yes.
you also have the Black Pearl
Mm-hmm.
from Pirates of the Caribbean. Which one are you staring at?
Honestly, the Endurance.
Really?
There's more detail and more differentiation of color in the Endurance to make it a draw your eye more so than any of the Pirates of the Caribbean sets that may have previously been released. Um, and it's bigger. So the Black Pearl is actually a relatively small set. It would be wonderful if Lego were to re-release it sometime in the future. Um, but as it stands, the Endurance is going to be more eye catching than the Black Pearl.
Gotcha. Now it would be interesting because they designed and we talked about this earlier. Would they designed like the Pirates of the Caribbean ships to be more so playability? But imagine if and to be honest, it's the idea that it teeter-totters, right? Do you design it more to be displayed, or do you design it more to be or played, or do you design it to be dead middle? Now imagine if they designed a Black Pearl that was less playability and more displayability, what we would see with those sails. How incredible would that be? And the
It would be
rigging,
interesting to see.
and what they would do with the deck work, rather than just black generic pieces, because your minifig has to stand on them. So, Josh gave it an 18.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it a 14. I think it's there.
Okay.
I think it's wow. But I think after a certain period of time, it would blend.
Okay.
So I'm not
So
going to
we
give it
come
less
out
than a
to
10 because I think it's impressive, but I wouldn't say like it's just like hit home for me.
all right.
But with that,
So
go for it.
on the Ultimate Lego Leaderboard, how does the Endurance stack up? Well, we've got 155 total points out of 300 for Tom. So we're looking at this is an F.
It's a
That is
50%.
eh, for me, we have 188 out
You
of
didn't
300, so
you're not much
we're
further
higher.
away than I am. Remember,
That extra 33 points makes a difference.
remember
I
each of us has 300 points that we can rank this out of. 300 points.
But it definitely felt the loss of the minifigs. That's a 0 in that category. While it fits with this set, and while they were in the gift with purchase, that 0 brings it down. But this is still a fantastic set. 343 points is nothing to stick your nose up at. The Endurance set 10335. has a solid showing here.
343 name. And guess what? Since it's the only set on the Ultimate LEGO Leaderboard, the
We're number
Endurance
one.
is number one. Woo! Set number 10335. That's fun. So yes, that is the very, very first set that we have reviewed here on the Blockcast podcast. And we are going to review a lot of sets. Now, here's the thing. If you are interested in seeing what our thoughts are on any set that you're interested in, now remember, this is based off of the individual set. And one thing I wanted to bring back to this, and you could say, well, the Endurance, as Josh mentioned, had the expansion set of that minifigure. In theory, if it has a different set number, it is a different set. So that gift with purchase has its own set number. We could review that gift with purchase, but it would have to go through all 15 categories in order for it to count. The reason this got a 0 for minifigs is because it did not have any.
When I opened the box for the Endurance, no minifig walked out.
No. It'd be weird if it did, but here we are.
Yeah, a little bit. But we've made it through our first of the Ultimate LEGO Leaderboard. Again, we're highlighting that this is the first because you're going to see some changes, very likely by the next time that we do this. For those of you that have stuck through all 15, well, truly, you have some endurance because not every review that we do is going to be this long. We may come with our rankings prefabricated, and we'll talk about a little bit more why we chose those numbers. But we wanted to walk through this step by step with you to get an idea of what we are looking for as we do these reviews in the future. To get a description of the category, we won't always explain that. It will be here. You'll be able to see the rankings as we talk through the set. But again, this is the inaugural launch. We are very excited to have this as a segment going forward on the Blockcast. We look forward to your recommendations for other sets that we should review. Keep in mind, again, it doesn't have to be new. It can be old. If there's a favorite from your childhood or what have you, let us know. We'll be happy to take a look into it and give it our professional opinion.
Correct. Agreed. So with that, just remember, the Endurance will not always be number one. That will change. Just because it was number one now, it doesn't mean it'll be number one next week.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is the best set that we will see here on the Blockcast.
And we will review quite a number of sets. So yeah, let us know. Message us. But you know what you got to do? Since you stuck with us so long and you're hearing us in your car or you're watching us while driving, please don't do that. Please be sure to click that like, share, and subscribe. And Josh, tell them what else they can do.
Let us know if you do subscribe so that we can add you to our LEGO audience. We would love to have you be a part of our studio audience. But even more so than that, continue to keep an eye on our account on YouTube, on our account on Instagram, as we'll be sharing some more fun with you as we move further into season 2 here at the Blockcast.
And we are very excited to do that. With that, my name's Tom.
And I'm Josh.
And you have been enjoying the Blockcast,
where LEGO fans click.
Bye, everybody.